Hello, everybody. Welcome to some more inconsistent Bookworm, and I think this one it's gonna be a little on the controversial side. Not because there is anybody getting raped by goblins or anything like that, but more in the fact that this is a book that you either love it or you fucking hate it, and there's not a middle ground with anybody. It seems. I am, of course, talking about Mob Psycho 100. Now, I am going to admit something with this particular book. I did watch the anime first. It's not because I could or I wanted to watch the anime before anything, but it's actually because I do know that this is made by the same guy who did One Punch Man. And I know that this is an anime that is it's sort of infamous in a bad way, in the fact that it's more well known because of its very bad and kind of basic art style. And yeah, telling from this and the very geometric like shapes and almost kind of like basic way in which people are drawn and everything. Yeah, there is some basic kind of usage of characters and everything like that. It's like I don't know about it because it does look very. I originally bought it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit here and watch the first season, which so far seems to be the only season, sadly enough, of the entire run. Let me watch this because also I do know it is a comedy series. I'm sorry, I lost my voice a moment where it's saying the word comedy, and it's one of those that a comedy series can either live or die by how the delivery can be at times. Like if you have a character being silly over the top the whole time, it can be really damn annoying. Yucca, yucca, yucca. It's one of those things like that's the reason why I've always cared for my comedies to be a little bit more on the, for lack of a better way to put it, they're going to have a little, edge to them. Not always cussing a lot, but they have a very sarcastic tone to everything. And with this, I got that, okay, so this is how these characters are wanting to sound, and it does feel like it fits these characters. And on top of everything, I got their sarcastic edges when they were supposed to be, and I got the over the top characters when they were supposed to be over the top. So I was like, okay, well, this is how these characters are supposed to be, and I can get around, the fact the art style's poo. It looks like a toddler drew it. It looked like I drew it. So I was like, okay, well, let's read this and let me see if it holds up. And to be honest, like it's the first like I want to say like 2 episodes, give or take, maybe three. No, I think it's actually two. Those who watch anime first are wondering, hey, is the book any good as well? So to kind of describe the story, there is a kid. His name is Shinji or Sigi. I believe it's pronounced Sinji. Is how they pronounce it constantly throughout the anime, but it's spelled Shige. It's kind of a he actually has a other name, or it's like kind of like a cutesy kind of name. It's something his brother called him, and his younger brother. And his brother will come into the story later. Sorry, he doesn't really get mentioned much throughout the first volume, which is fine. This is meant to set up more of the main character, who we're actually just going to call him what he prefers to be called, Bob. That's where Mob Psycho 100 comes from. Psycho 100, it's dealing with the fact he has psychic powers. 100 is whenever he decides to snap, whenever he lets his emotions go. The reason why is explained very explicitly in like the next to last chapter in this volume. Because when he has psychic powers, he can see ghosts, he can exorcise them, he can also utilize them to he uses psychic powers to bend stuff, lift stuff, whatever. And he is trying to be, or he wanted to reach out to help control and utilize his powers in a positive way because of an incident that happened when he was younger. This isn't explained in the first volume. I will fully say that. It's like, this doesn't touch on why he's with this one particular character. His name is, I believe it's pronounced Regan or Regan. He is, he's a phony. He is a guy who pretends he is a psychic and absolutely has no psychic capabilities whatsoever. This isn't so much an issue like in Black Clover where, everybody has magic and this guy just doesn't. Like everybody has psychic powers and this guy has no psychic powers. No. It's just he's one of the many normal people, but he is totally a fraud. And it leads to a lot of good comedy throughout him just because of how he interacts with people. And he is just so fucking over the top, and he is pretty much anime tropes. Like, he names all of his different moves that he does, like psychic massage attack or something, and literally just massaging a guy's back and shit like that. It's so bizarre, but it's really funny. And I would say it's like watching the anime, I was able to get his voice, because the voice actor who does for him is fantastic. Like, he's, just kind of, very professional, very much. Then he's over the top when he does his attacks. And it's like, oh my God, you got it perfect. That was exactly what I figured he would do. And the guy who plays Mob, he's, very, kind of chill, just whatever guy, until he lets out his emotions and lets his powers truly flow out. And then you get to see him be, fuck you, I'm going to rip your asshole in half and shove it down your throat at the same time. And also, I would be remiss if I don't talk about the other character that's also introduced. It becomes a bit of a side character throughout this, and that is Dimple. He is called such because his part of his psychic powers, because he's a ghost, a spirit, for lack of a better way to put it, who can make people smile, make them laugh. It's part of what he can do. Though he has also, obviously, normal kind of psychic powers he can just utilize however he needs to. He is one of the first real threats that Mob has to come across. And it's where you get to see Mob just go whole hog on somebody. And I will say this is both a good and bad thing about the writer of the story. Those who are wondering, it is presented by the guy who calls himself One. Now, good and bad things about this guy. This guy knows how to show off this like super uber powerful villain and show him just get fucking flattened to death. That is good and bad. Good because it makes your hero just look like holy fucking shit. It's like, don't mess with this guy, leave him the hell alone. And bad because it can make your fights feel very one note. For lack of a great pun not fully intended there. It does work here though, I believe. It shows that Mob is truly a force to be reckoned with his psychic powers. The fact that this, like, very powerful, God tier level almost spirit is able to control hundreds of people. And then is able to use all their power to power himself up even more. And Mob fucking nukes his ass with one touch. All because he gets mad. Or he's very fucking annoyed. Like, that is, holy shit, why? No, don't do this to him. It's like, please don't make him angry. But in the same instance, it can, if that keeps going on throughout other fights, it can get kind of uninteresting. It can make your fights feel all samey. This, I do think that, from what I watched in the anime, didn't get that as much. This, thankfully, since this is the only fight you get in this book, it just feels like, holy shit. Like, it's the only, like, holy, real badass moment. But that's okay. I want that to be the thing. I don't need Mob being an utter badass every 5 seconds. It doesn't fit his character. He's just a middle schooler, in all lack of any way to put it. Or I think he might be technically considered a high schooler. And he's just there to, just trying to figure his way through life and figure out why he has so much power and all this other stuff and just try and get through everything. He doesn't, he's not there to try and, be a superhero. He just wants to go about his day. And that is where I think the book works. You don't need to have a character that's just like uber badass. I know I'm awesome and shit like that all the time. You just need a character that's, for lack of a better way to put it, he is relatable, and that's positive. Like I have to say though, if I can give a huge negative for the book, it's ugly. It's an ugly looking manga. I'm sorry. I know that this. Sorry, I said that very Canadian. I'm not. I know that this particular creator is, he pours a lot of his heart into this, but he does it in the writing. He's a fantastic writer. From what I've read so far of One Punch Man, it's actually quite endearing. I really enjoy most of it. His art style, One Punch Man, because he has somebody else actually help with a lot of it, it's a lot better. This is so basic, for lack of a better way to put it. Not that it always needs to be, big and grandiose, but, all the characters look ugly. They look like old people at times. Like he's supposed to have these middle schoolers and they look like they're 412 years old. It's just, it's not as visually stimulating as you would want it to be. But thankfully, I do believe that the writing makes up for any fact that it's, just not as interesting to look at. So I will actually give this a good recommendation. I think you should I think you should pick this up. It's, like I said, it's just not a very good looking book, but it's a damn interesting one. It's full of interesting characters. It's actually full of interesting stuff happening, and ultimately, I think you'll enjoy it. Are you going to absolutely love this? Like, it's going to be one of your favorite mangas of all time? I don't think so. I think it's just the art style's a little too hard to make this. Oh, it's one of my favorite mangas. But to say that I shouldn't recommend it just solely because of the art style, it feels disingenuous to it. I think you should read this regardless of the art style, just not being up to snuff. But hey, that's my opinions on Mob Psycho 100. Go get it. It's pretty fun. You would actually, I feel like you would be missing out on something if you decide not to read this. It's a good comedy book. And hell, there is actually some good slice of life moments that you just don't see in slice of life stuff because it is too samey same. Though I know some people think slice of life stuff is other weirder fancy stuff, but they are weird. So hey, that's my opinions on Mob Psycho 100. Let me know what you thought about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think the artwork was making your eyes want to bleed? So, I gotta get into some more mangas, of course. So until then, I will see you all later. So, bye bye, everybody.